Welcome back to my channel again. This is Captain Cherry, and today we are going to discuss about what are the different kind of certificates and terms. Now, there are many terms which are used on ship. You must have heard a surveyor asking you a question in the oral examination that what is a trading certificate you will carry on board. And sometimes he'll twist a question and he'll ask you, what is the statuary certificate you will be carrying on board? And suddenly he'll say, what are the mandatory certificates which you have carried on board? Can you give me examples? And then you might get confused. So to make the things simple, first we will start with what is a trading certificate. So if you see on your screen, there is a ship. Okay, now, say for example, there is a ship owner. Okay, this is the ship owner. And this ship owner has registered this ship under UK flag. Now, a question for you is, will that ship be trading only in UK? No. Most of the times, a ship owner who has bought a bigger ship, which is more than 300 GT or 500 GT, obviously he will try to, do a trade outside UK. And basically, bigger ships are made for that, right? They will take the cargo from point A to point B in some other country, right? So, what are a trading certificate? So, I've defined it very, very simply. All the certificates which are required for a ship to trade internationally and locally, or you can also say, which are required for a ship to trade in international waters and local waters of that respective country. Okay, let it be point A or point B. Okay, so that will be called as a trading certificate. So for giving you a simple example, say this is a ship which is on your screen, and this ship has to go from UK. Okay, and from UK it has to come out to international water and discharge in US. So all the certificate which you required to be carried on board for that particular trade will be called as a trading certificates. That is why, if you see, I will combine statuary certificate and mandatory certificate together as trading certificate, but I will leave non-mandatory certificate. All right? Because they're not mandatory. They're not required by a law of a country or by a local law of a particular country where I'm going to take my ship. Right? So, statutory certificate and mandatory certificate will together become as a trading certificate. I hope that is clear to you now. Okay. Now, what is a statutory certificate? Okay, statutory certificate is basically required by the law of that country. Okay, the law of country. Now, which country? The country where your ship is registered, or the country whose flag you are entitled to fly. Okay, is that clear? Right? So it is required by a law of that country. Okay, those certificates which are required by the law of that country are known as statutory certificate. Right? So what is the process? It is very, very simple. Right? Say, for example, there is a convention. Right? They will basically, it will undergo through a ratification process. Okay, and then after ratification process, it will be included in the MS Act of that country. Okay, and it will come as a MSN for your understanding. Okay, so that you can understand and then carry it on board. Is that clear to you or not? So it is required by the law of that country. So if I am a UK registered ship, my flag state is MCA. So whatever certificate are required by UK law, okay, I will be calling them as the statutory certificates. Is that clear or not? Okay, right now, most of the international maritime laws like SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW, MLC, and other convention in force. If UK has ratified those, then those certificates which are coming under SOLAS, MARPOL, STCW, MLC will become a statutory certificate. Is that clear to you? Right? Okay. So that is what is a statutory certificate. It is required by the law of that country. Okay. And how it will be required by a law of the country? When they have adopted that convention, say for example, SOLAS, they have adopted SOLAS, and after that they have ratified SOLAS, and they've actually included it into their Merchant Shipping Act, right? And we don't understand Merchant Shipping Act, right? So they will give it to you, or a ship owner, they'll give it to you in the form of MSN. Understood or not? Right? So those certificate will be called as statutory certificate. Is that clear? Now, let's go further ahead. What are mandatory certificates? Now, mandatory certificates are not required by any international convention. Okay? Okay? These are basically required by the local regulation of that country. Right? It is not required by international law. Okay? And if you don't carry, you are not breaking any rule when you are into international water. But when you enter into that country, right, you might be denied the entry because you don't have that certificate. Or you might not be able to enter or start a cargo operation over there. Right? Understood or not? So these certificates are also very, very important to be carried on board. I give you example. Remember, a ship started from UK and then it has to go to US for a discharge. Okay. Now, when it is going into US waters, okay, it is supposed to have COFR, Certificate of Financial Responsibility. Right? Now, it is not required because on your ship for pollution, you have something called BOPIC and OPIC, right? Bunker Oil Pollution Insurance Certificate and Oil Pollution Insurance Certificate. You have those certificates, right? Which is required by Bunker CLC Convention, Bunker CLC and CLC Convention 1992. And this is 2001. Okay? So you have those certificates. But US will say, no, I don't need the certificate which are required on the basis of Bunker CLC 1992 and CLC 2001. I have my own local regulation which require your ship to carry COFR. Is that clear to you or not? So that will become a mandatory certificate because without that, I cannot enter into their country's limits. Is that clear or not? Understood or not? Okay, so that is the difference between statutory and mandatory certificate. Okay, I will give you another example. It might also be a certificate where your country might not have done a ratification of that certificate, but the other countries might have done. Now, I am not talking about SOLAS. SOLAS has been ratified by 99.9% of the countries, right? But if you remember, there was a certificate called Ballast Water Certificate. Until last year, July 2022, it was not ratified by UK law. So it was not a statutory certificate. After July only it became a statutory certificate. But before that, it was mandatory certificate because all the other countries has already done the ratification of that convention. So whenever you were going into those countries, you were carrying either a ballast water certificate or a statement of compliance going into the other countries. And that was counted as a mandatory certificate. Is that clear to you or not? Okay. So it can be of that case also. Okay. Now, what is a non-mandatory certificate? These are neither mandatory nor statuary. Okay. Right. Correct. So they're not required by international law or local law. Okay. Right. So it can be a mooring winch brake test certificate or a helicopter hatch strength certificate from a classification society. So these are not required by international law. Is that clear? It is not required by international law, but we are carrying it on board. Okay. So these are called as non-mandatory certificate. Is that clear to you or not? Okay, now as we have discussed about statutory certificate and mandatory certificate, now there is one extract which I have taken from UK statutory requirements. And if you go to the first paragraph, it says that this chapter will be telling you various statutory certificates which are required on UK ships. Okay, now if you come down, there are various kind of ships like passenger ships, whether they are on international voyage or domestic voyage. Okay, all those kind of things are there. If they are under over 400 GT, 500 GT, cargo ship including bulk carriers but excluding tankers. Then there is oil tanker, chemical tanker or gas carrier, high speed craft, and there are many more vessels also which are listed like yachts, mega yachts, small commercial vessel, pleasure vessels, and all that. Right? Now, fishing vessels is also there, but the most important thing is this table. Okay. Now, this table is basically divided into part 1, and then there is one more table as part 2. If you go to part 1, okay, there are the ship type over here: cargo ship, oil tanker, chemical tanker, high speed craft, large yacht, etc. So if you want to just check which certificate needs to be carried on a cargo ship, or say if you are appearing in the oral, just go through this table, which ship is applicable to you. Say for example, bulk carrier, right? So bulk carrier will come under cargo ship. So they will have cargo ship safety radio, right? Only for those ships which are 300 GT. Okay. Now look at this note also, note 1. So you go to note 1 now. Cargo ship safety certificate can be combined into one certificate, right? SafeCon, safety equipment and safety radio can be combined into one. And that is what will come as a cargo ship safety certificate over here. Okay. Now tonnage and all also written over there. Okay. Like for example, if I say bulk carrier, load line. So you will just have to come here. Okay. If your ship is more than equal to 150 GT or greater than equal to 24 meter, then you're supposed to carry a load line. So by easily referring this table, you will come to know that what statutory certificates are required. All right. Okay, like sewage. So sewage is required for a say oil tanker. So I'll go over here, oil tanker, and then I will come over here with okay, sewage. Sewage is required for 400 GT or 15%. Understood? Okay, now note 5 is also there. So I need to write also go through note 5. Ship on international voyages only. So what should I say? That it is applicable to all the oil tankers which are more 400 GT or which are carrying 15%, but they should also be on the international voyages. Then only you are required to carry a sewage pollution. So go through this. Okay, and there are some additional certificate also like certificate of registry and all that. They will also become statutory because they are required as a part of your registration process in a flag. I hope this table will clarify you a lot of things that what are the statutory certificate required as per UK law. Okay, and then of course they will also be telling you about the other things also, like what are the tonnage requirements and all that. All right. Thank you very much for paying attention. See you on the next one when we will be taking certificate one by one and discussing on that.